Hello, everyone. We are back again, another episode in the Design Lounge, and this is the stewardship series, which I'm excited about because I've Amanda Sava from Neil Kelly Design. Excuse me on that.
Oh, yes.
I thought I was going to say the Sava, your last name wrong. Actually, it's Amanda. The easiest part is what I
The
messed
easy
up,
part.
right? Is this what? Okay, let everyone know it is Memorial Day weekend. So maybe I'm just out already thinking, drinking a little cocktail, but nonetheless, love to have you on. Tell us a little bit about yourself and your background and what you do.
So I am Amanda Sava. I am the general manager here of Neil Kelly in Seattle. We are
Okay.
based actually in Portland, but we have four
Okay.
offices total. One in
Saw that.
Seattle, one in Bend, one in Eugene. I have been designing for over 25 years, which is a depressing number some days. I'm like, ooh. I started when I was
You just getting started. You're a newbie.
I was brand new practically.
Yeah.
So we do design build remodeling,
Okay.
which has been a new thing for me. I love it. It's more interesting. There's more to it.
Yeah.
And there's just having moved into the GM role relatively recently from the design side. It's just kind of
Congratulations.
fun. Thank you. It's fun to see and kind of handle everything from the top view and taking care of all of our folks. So not just my clients now, but my team and my carpenters and all of the folks in all of our offices. So been a little bit of a change, but a good one. So
I'm sure that definitely changed the perspective a little bit. Probably give you a little bit of a more appreciation as well.
absolutely. And it, for our topic, like it changes how you think about stewardship. Like stewardship was always just taking care of my clients and their house before, and
Yeah.
now I got a lot more people to take care of.
Right. You got to make sure everybody got to be happy. Okay. So now I guess let's start there. But Neil Kelly, how long have you been with Neil Kelly? You say you've been in design 25 years, but how long with Neil Kelly?
I've been with Neil Kelly for 5 years. So I
Okay.
started mid COVID, which was interesting.
Okay.
It was kind of different trying to meet clients when everyone's
Right.
locked down.
It's honestly funny. I started with Gray during COVID.
Oh, see, so
Yeah.
you know what it's like to be
I know
sitting in
what
your
it's like.
room, your office, trying to present to someone
Yes.
all your amazing ideas, and yet you can't even meet them.
You're like, who are you? Where it's you know what though, I will say. It was the nicest thing starting in COVID because then it's like, and I would put it to even now, right? I have these conversations with people all over the world.
Yeah.
And they're virtual, right? So then when I met them in person, it's like, oh, we already know each other. Or we already had that connection kind of
Yeah.
built in.
Yeah.
And in COVID, it was even more heightened because it's like, oh my gosh, I just want to see people and hug everybody. And so it's like, I know you. Yes. I remember
Yeah.
one of the ladies up from Gray, we had talked for months on months
Right?
on months, never met. Finally flew into Seattle, had like the in-person activation events when the kind of like the things were open. And we were like, oh my gosh, we know each other. But actually, I will say the funny part of that about that was Seattle was a little bit different than Arizona, where I'm at right now.
Oh, yeah.
So it was still like touch and go, like,
Yep.
oh, I know you, but
Over
you're in
there.
Washington. I used to be in Oregon, so I can empathize. Do we hug? Do we do air hugs? What is it? So yeah, that
That's
was a
good.
unique
You
time.
fist
But
bump.
exactly, do something,
Yeah.
something. Yeah.
Yeah. The funny part was every time you saw someone without their mask on finally, I was like, oh my gosh, that's what the bottom half of your face looks like.
Right. Yes. Yes. I remember those times of seeing people in the car. Okay. I don't want to. Okay. Let me not digress. So okay. So you started 5 years ago
Started
with
five
Neil
years
Kelly.
ago.
Okay.
Did a bunch of different fun projects. We had one that was great. It was in this Victorian, so we really wanted to kind of keep that same vibe. She was super into the fact that we're a B Corp. She wanted to work with a B Corp. She wanted to use and reuse things. We used some salvage sconces from Hippo Hardware in Portland. We only sourced real materials. She only
Mm,
wanted to work with FSC cabinetry.
okay.
She was really into the whole idea of not only keeping the style of her home right, so
Yes.
just keeping that together, but also just using real materials. Like she didn't
Okay.
want quartz, she didn't want LVT or any sort of printed flooring. So it
Okay.
was she was true to her materials and her vision for the home, and it was a lot of fun to do that particular project. But it's been a fun journey. We've done kitchens and baths and ADUs and all sorts of stuff. So we really kind of keep across the board, just doing anything and everything that our clients are looking for. And being on the design build side is kind of fun because you get to shepherd the whole project.
Yeah.
So many times as designers, we sort of draw something up and then send it out into the world. I hope it goes well.
Yeah. Fingers crossed.
Yeah, but I have to like day one to here's your key back.
Yeah.
So
That is an interesting concept.
yeah,
I was curious with you. I know now I was unaware that you just moved into the GM role. I thought you were still doing the design part,
yeah.
but you joined Neil Kelly 5 years ago. What was it about them that attracted you, and were you on your own before, or were you previously within a business? Like, because it's always interesting here talking to different designers like
Yeah,
that are within the business
yeah,
or are building their own business, right? Even though they're doing the same thing, it is obviously a little bit different. So
yeah.
what was it like that for you?
I've never been brave enough to have my own business. I kind
Okay,
of like the idea of having a boss higher up,
okay,
which I just realized I didn't do very well with this because now I am the boss. So that sort of sucks. I didn't think that part through.
yeah.
But previously,
Now you're the bad guy.
I know all the time. Previously, I was with Waterworks in San Francisco doing
Okay.
cabinetry design. So working with some amazing designers there, that was so much fun. And then moved up here for family, and then lost that role during COVID and started this role. So, but the thing that really brought me to Neil Kelly was the family side of it. The fact that
Yeah.
I've been around for over 75 years now, of
You
course.
guys, just a little bit, just
Just
a little
been
bit,
around a
just
minute.
a little bit, just
We're young.
1947, just
We're young.
almost
We're a
80.
young
Yeah.
75.
Yeah, young, youthful
Yeah.
75.
But even like when I interviewed with the president, the previous president, who was the
Yeah.
founder's son.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
his son is still a project, he does project management supervision in Portland, and the grandkids
Okay.
are running around. So there's four generations of Kellys that have been in the business of taking care of people for a really long time.
Yeah. No, and I love that you talk about the family aspect of that because actually, a little birdie told me that you're still a Girl Scout. And so I heard that and I was like, okay, now, again, I talk about this all the time, almost every episode, really digging into who I'm speaking with. And, I saw the mission of Neil Kelly and the things they do. And I'm like, oh, I feel like in some ways her background as a Girl Scout, still being a Girl Scout, with the things she's learned,
Yeah,
aligned a lot with the belief system and the characteristics of Neil Kelly.
absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
We are all about leaving it better than we found it, which is
Yeah.
a main mantra in Girl Scouting. So since the age of 4,
Okay.
yeah, I've been at it for a while. But yeah, but that's the thing. Even one of our daily steps for our carpenters even is to do a broom sweep at the end of the day, just to leave the job site tidy and clean. So just even every single day, even if it's
Yeah.
drywall day or demo day,
Yeah.
cleaning it up. We're
The,
making
li-
it
the,
better.
the little things matter. I want to talk about the three P's:
Hmm.
people, planet, and profit. Right. And I think whether however you want to dice it up, employees, community, environment. But you mentioned being a B Corp. I
Yeah.
think a lot of times, especially young designers, especially all designers, right? They think, okay, we talked about this offline. Yeah, that sounds amazing, right? That sounds, yeah, I want to be obviously, I want to be make it a great environment for my employees. Obviously, I want to attract customers. I would like to do something positive for the environment if I could. That sounds good,
It
but
does.
it is that profit piece that I think is the scariest component of it, right? How have you guys been able to maintain it again? Because you've been almost with 80 years, and I'm curious to get your thoughts on. People don't realize maybe looking at the people and the planet really is a conduit to the profits.
It is a
But
con.
even they don't think of it that way. So I want you, if you could, expand on that.
Just riff on that for a little bit.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So one of the things that's interesting is that when you're building, you're not in an eco-friendly business.
Yeah.
We are tearing stuff down. We are using a lot of resources. We are taking up old trees. Bad stuff happens, right? So
Totally.
we want to make sure that we can give back in certain ways. So that's why we do the B Corp. The profit part actually isn't that hard when you have the clients buy-in, when they want that. They want someone who takes good care of their employees. Almost every client has had that bad news remodel where, a trade walks off the job site. I had that happen in my own bathroom. Trade just
Okay.
walked
Yeah.
off because the GC did not do a good job of taking care of their trades.
Yeah.
So you can have these bad relationships and they just turn into no profit situations. So by investing in our team personally and then our trade partners as well,
Hmm.
we make sure to develop those relationships that keep us profitable. We have these conversations with our trade partners. We've worked with them for years and we always source locally and we don't always pick the right, like maybe it's not the cheapest trade for this project.
Yeah.
It's always the right trade for the project. It's the
Yeah.
right trade for the client or the home or things like that. And so by having those relationships and really kind of spending time with our trades as well as our carpenters and things like that, we can have the conversations like, oh my gosh, help me out here. We
Yeah.
messed up. Help me fix this and, help us both maintain our profits. And then, of course, just making sure that you're sourcing responsibly always helps, but also the clients really appreciate that. They're
Yeah.
willing to pay. There are plenty of people in this world that are willing to pay the dollar amount for what aligns with their values.
How do you guys market that? How do you communicate that? Because again, when you think of a client, obviously one of the biggest things they're talking about is cost first, right?
Yeah.
But I'd imagine, like I said, if they know people, they don't know what they don't know. They don't know what to ask,
Yeah.
right? And there's a lot of times where that long term thinking, what you think is cutting costs in the beginning, actually, you don't have the relationship, so you can have them fix it. You know what I mean? It just doesn't set you up for long term success. So
Yeah.
how do you guys communicate, or do you communicate that to the clients so they realize, okay, you know what, this company's been around for 77, 78 years, my math is correct. um, but we value our trade partners, we value, our employees, we value the client, and we know that at the end of the day, this is the best option possible.
Right. We view it as a partnership. I can't
Okay.
do, none of my designers can do their job. I can't do my job without the clients being fully bought in. So we spend that time talking about the team, and we really heavily talk about the team approach. The fact
Mhm.
that we have your designer, we have your project manager, we have the team that that helps them keep the project going, whether it's in the design phase or whether it's in the production phase. So we really value that team approach. I think that helps a lot. I think they see the value in that. And we also have to push on the fact that we're not just a design company and we're not just a general contractor. We're a service
Okay.
company.
Yeah.
We're a service company. Anybody can swing a hammer.
Yeah.
I can swing a
I
hammer.
don't know if I can. I
Yeah.
don't know. I mean, maybe if I probably
Yeah.
with YouTube I could.
Yeah.
I'm probably
Well,
probably
nobody
could.
wants us to be swinging hammers, but
Yeah.
but that's exactly it, right? Nobody
Yeah.
wants us swinging hammers. You want to find that person that can get you the right person to swing the hammer.
Exactly, exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. No, I love that. What I really love though is the squeaky door concept, and I kind of want to
Yes.
break it down because again, I want to talk about the people, the planet, the profits, but that squeaky door concept where nothing's too small, and I know you guys have like surprise and delight. Can you kind of go into more in depth about that and how that is a foundational pillar of the company?
Yeah. We call it the Neil Kelly Nine. They
Okay,
are our values.
I
One of
saw
the
those, saw
important
those,
Yeah. One of
saw
the
those.
important ones is fix the squeaky door. So there should be no detail too small. The main story, the reason that fix the squeaky door came in is because there was a project and our
Okay,
carpenter literally had to walk in and out of this squeaky screen door every day and finally just asked the client, "Can I fix this for you?" And they're like, "Oh gosh, yeah, sure, that'd be amazing." So he takes 5 minutes, a little WD 40, and bada bing, bada boom, he's got a non squeaky door that doesn't annoy him every time he's walking in and out of the door.
can I have can I confess something real quick?
Of course.
So I have had the chair that I'm just sitting in has been bothering me for forever. And I literally yesterday went to the store and I'm like, this is driving me insane. I
Mm-hmm.
cannot hear. And now I'm like, I'm
Like,
like
look at
all
me.
over the, I'm like, oh my goodness, why it took me so long? But it was driving me insane. I was just busy and forgot about it. So
But
I'm
how
sorry.
long did it take you to buy that can of WD 40? And those poor clients were living with this squeaky door for years, probably.
Right? No, totally,
Yeah.
totally,
But one
totally.
little thing, and it's that sort of thing that then builds your brand, right? Because
Yeah,
that carpenter took care of one little detail that no
yeah.
one else had thought to look at.
Yeah,
So
they overlooked. It was so the minutia was just so small that it was so easily overlooked.
yes,
And but just being aware, and it being a pillar, like I said, of what you guys do. You
yeah,
talked about that builds the brand, and there's nothing better than experiences and obviously word of mouth and things like that. I know you guys say pick a lane and own it. I think that lends to the profit side of it. Um, I think that's important because I think we all, I'm guilty of it, want to be all things to everybody,
Absolutely.
want to do everything all at the same time. That I think it was the shiny object syndrome or the shiny quarter syndrome, where it's like I want to do this, and then, okay, but I want to do this, I want to do that, I want to do this. How did you guys, identify? And I'm going to jump. I don't want to jump ahead, but how do you identify that lane and talk about that brand? Because that's a big part of the profit side. When you know who you are, know what you stand for, know who you are aligned with, that's when profits kind of go up, right?
Absolutely. And that is our main foundation is the design build process. We started off actually as a teeny tiny little handyman project out of Neil Kelly's garage because Neil Kelly was a guy. He
Okay.
was he was a person.
Who's a real good person?
Yeah, he was a real person. His picture still hangs in the bar across the street from our offices in Portland. So
Love that.
he's an Irish person. So he was in,
Yeah. Was it Kells?
yeah. I don't remember which one it is, but I've seen the picture.
Yeah, yeah. That's the
um,
one that, yeah, I remember that's the one Irish bar I that came to mind in Portland.
yeah. I'm going to check and I'm going to let you
Okay.
know.
Get back to me. Get back to me.
So with the handyman, so we started just that way, and then it became construction. And then he hired a couple of designers, a couple of women that were with him, and then they created this design build idea. So we've been around, I mean, we're like, I think the number three top, like the third largest design build remodeling firm in the country.
Okay.
Because there's not a ton of us. We're sort of a niche market. I think it's a
Yeah.
growing market. But anyway, so we really focused hard on that. But the idea was, again, to take care of the clients, the homes, and the people. And by doing design build, we can do all of that. Again, being that designer that just sort of hands off the plans and says, go forth and build this, it creates this point of contention. When you're the client and you're stuck between your designer and your contractor, and they're both telling you that the other one is wrong, that's tough to do.
Yeah.
So we care for the customer so much more and differently. We care about their entire kind of arc of their story. So I think that helps with the profits. We have other parts to the business. So like we do solar, we
Yeah.
do handyman. Solar is a big one for Tom Kelly. He loves, again, from an environmental standpoint, he loves that.
Yeah.
But
That's the tread lightly part, right?
that's the tread lightly part.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly. Well, we're not treading that lightly when we're knocking down walls and filling
Yeah.
landfills.
You said something interesting, and I just got it where you said, because you guys handle the entire process from the GC as well as the design, right? Usually it's one or the other. Everyone's pointing fingers, right, at each other.
Totally.
But the vast majority, and even the vast majority of our listeners, they're one or the other.
Exactly.
Because you guys are experts in mastering both, what would you say to someone that's watching this, whether they are on the design side or the GC side? How do they communicate in a way from your guys' learned experiences that will help them so they aren't pointing fingers, so they are more of a team, even, you know what I mean? So that teamwork so the client isn't the one that suffers in the end.
Yeah, and that's the trick, right? And I think one of the tricks, I know a lot of designers that have great trade partners that they always use those same trade partners. And that way they're taking the best care of the client. But I think so frequently, a client will just say, I'm going to bring on my own GC. And I think it's the designer's responsibility to come along and say, let me help you continue down this path and let me help you find the right general contractor. I had a great cabinet installer. He was amazing. He should not talk to humans. He was really good with cabinets. He was really bad with people.
Gotcha. Yeah.
So I would recommend him only if I knew that the clients were going to be out of town for the cabinet installation part of things.
Yeah.
So I think if the designers can kind of build their own little stable of trades and general contractors and people that they trust and value, that they can develop that relationship and be that trusted advisor to the client and say, these are some trades that we can trust and that we can work with. And then there's not the finger pointing.
I know you guys partner with a lot of local companies as well as women-led businesses. But you said it's not always the most cost-effective, but the right.
Yeah.
But I know it's a big thing for you guys also to make sure that they align on their values. What is that process of you guys not only identifying, but not only saying, okay, well, I like Joe over here, we're friends, you do this, I do this, let's partner. How do you kind of deliberate and go through? What does that checklist look like when you're like, okay, you know what, you're a partner we want to consider, But because we have the core nine, these nine values that we look at, we can't overlook certain things, even if you are maybe great at what you do. If you don't hit these boxes, how do you guys identify and select partnerships?
We start really early and kind of basic, right? Google search.
Okay.
When we're
Yeah.
finding a new one. Like we've
Yeah.
got a bunch that we love, we're good. But we start with a Google search. Are they women owned? Are they BIPOC owned? Anything like that. Anybody LGBTQ owned.
Right.
So
Yeah.
starting there. And Google's a
Okay.
great help with that. Then we'll usually bring them on as a single use sub,
Okay.
see
Okay.
what we think. We want to see, are they listening to our carpenters who are telling them what to do? Are they treating their employees well? Are they showing up well?
Yeah.
Are they showing up on time? That sort of stuff, because those are important things to the clients. The other part is important to the clients, but also more important to us, probably at the end of the
Yeah.
day. So we'll really spend a lot of time kind of evaluating them in that first moment.
Okay.
Typically, we will actually work with a trade 1 to 4 times before we allow them onto our actual list.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, and when you go onto the actual list, you have to go through a full background check, insurance, bond, all that sort of stuff. We are really careful about who we let into people's homes, and that's part of it. That's part of why people select Neil Kelly and select a brand that they trust to
Yeah.
be safe in their home.
Yeah. No. And that leads me to the next question. You guys, you want to be known as the most trusted name in remodeling,
We
right?
do.
So what are you guys doing in 2025 to make that happen, or to keep that name, if you will? And then what is next? What's on the horizon? What are you guys going to be doing going forward?
Oh my gosh, there's so many different things. I mean, I think that being the most trusted name in remodeling, it's not. We did not set the bar low, okay? We set the bar up here.
Yeah.
But what I find really works well is we allow the customers to see behind the curtain a little bit. They
Okay.
understand our trade partnerships, they
Yeah.
understand our team approach to things, and so they trust that we're going to get it done. They know that we're going to take it from beginning to end. I mean, do we have some clients that that they're like they want to micromanage and they want to hover and they want to just make sure we're doing everything right? Yes, of course we do.
We all have those.
We've all had them.
Yeah, we know what that's like. We know what
Yeah,
that's like.
but part of it is not about the perfection, but about the progress and the visibility into that progress. So if we make a mistake, we never cover it up. I mean, I'm
Okay.
not going to say we sit there and wave a big flag about what we did,
Yeah.
but we own it, we take the accountability for it, and that builds trust with our clients. And so we do become the most trusted name. We want to leave every project with, if not a happy client, at least a satisfied client. Obviously, we'd love to have a happy client at the end of every
We'd
one.
love to have that. Yeah.
Who doesn't? It's
Yeah.
perfect.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely.
But I think part of the trust too is just being a name in the community and making sure that people see our visibility as far as even just our team events, whether or not it's like we went out for Earth Day and pulled blackberry bushes, and we're going to be at Pride this year. We're going to just have some space in the community. We also in Portland, we still to this day, Neil Kelly himself used to drive meals around. He loved Meals on Wheels, and so
Okay.
we still have a contingent of folks in Portland that drive meals every week. So
That's awesome.
because of our community visibility, they know us, they know that good people work there.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. What comes first? Did you guys come up with the list of the nine first, or say you came up with a few and grew into it? Like again, I'm thinking of the new designer, the new entrepreneur that's watching this. How did you guys develop that vision and that protocol and that foundation of the pillars within your business?
so that came relatively recently. So I
Okay.
think that as so many companies have struggled, right? You start off small and then you
Mm-hmm.
get kind of big and you go, oh my God, what do we do? And we need an HR person. And oh, if we need an HR person, do we need a marketing person? And oh boy,
Yeah.
now we have a marketing person. Do I need so
Yeah.
I think it got a little crazy,
Okay.
and not sure where everything went. So then they sort of didn't, I mean, we didn't scale back in 2022, but we refocused.
Got you.
We
Okay.
created a better process for our design build projects. so that there's a little more consistency throughout all 4 markets. We also spent longer and really dug into what our vision and our mission was, and then took these sort of things that we'd always thought of. So, like, we've got be you, and we've got tread lightly, and all these kind of good catchphrases, but they were all, and the squeaky door.
Yeah, let's look it up. Can't forget
They
that.
were all things that we had all sort of lived by to a certain degree, but we formalized it.
Gotcha. Yeah, to get
They're in
it print
every
the paper.
office. They're on all
Okay.
the walls. We see them, we owe them, we know them. Once a month we talk about and kind of spend time in our office. We focus on one and talk about how we can improve or what we could do better or how we can uphold that value. And it was collaborative. And it was based on things that we already knew we wanted to do. And one of those ones, it's like we embrace mistakes, and we do.
Yeah.
No
Yeah.
one's perfect. We just need to figure out how to pick up and move on and grow from the mistake.
Yeah, no, I love that. And I love to hear how it's not only that you guys made it, formal and visible, but that it's ongoing, right? Because like anything, right? Even like New Year's resolutions, you think about it once and then you're like, oh, I was supposed to do that, or I want to do that. But I think it's that constant, and
Yeah.
communication and keeping it top of mind.
Yeah. Well, even
Yeah.
I keep a copy on my little bulletin board right over here. I pulled it
Yeah.
down because I was like, oh, we're going to talk about these today. Let's make sure.
Right? We're doing this. We're doing this. Like I said, I saw it. But we'll have to, maybe at grade we'll have to talk about that a little bit, and adopt some of those. But, this has been so fun. I mean, we talk about stewardship, what you guys do, again, for your people, the planet. We talked about the profits, but also I think for everyone watching, they're going to be pulling so many different nuggets. Like, okay, maybe they haven't thought about that, or they aren't at that level yet, or that status, and they're like, okay, but inevitably, you don't always get there and then do it. You do it, and then that's how you get there.
And that's how you get
Right?
there. And that's the thing. I think we got a little like kind of far flung, and it was a little bit of the wild, wild west.
Yeah.
We were all doing our own things, and we were making money and everything was fine. But by coming together under this umbrella, we are all on the same page now. And we
Yeah.
swim in the same direction, or we oar or whatever, canoe in the right direction.
You're asking the wrong person.
So I'm like, I am not outdoorsy. Is this how we do?
You're in the Northwest. At least I knew. I'm out here. Well,
Can't do
Amanda,
that in the desert.
yeah, exactly. Can't do that. We don't have any water. That's the one thing I missed. Well, thank you so much. Thank you for taking the time, especially 3-day weekend coming up. Hope you're going to enjoy some of that. I'm wishing you good weather in Seattle. You said it was sunny. Hopefully it stays dry all weekend. The temperature rises a little bit,
Yeah,
and that you can enjoy yourself.
that would be great. I hope so too. Thank
All
you.
right, we will be in contact. Talk to you soon.
Great. Thanks.
All right, bye bye.